ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Accra and 7 p.m. in Abuja. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye gives a grand welcome to the national team at Dakar Airport.
I'm happy. I'm really happy because my nation won the World Cup Africa Cup.
I'm a Senegalese and I watched the final in Germany and we're all very happy.
Press groups demand return of Ghana's former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta amidst calls to face financial charges. Rice traders in Nigeria's Benue State complain of low patronage due to poor road infrastructure.
The worst part of it, last year, the government said we should use the government bags. After buying the rice at costly price, they will now go and bring rice from another state.
And authorities in Burkina Faso arrest a suspect in murder of former Minister Kampauri. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
On the news, this is a More Edit.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Newslink begins here in Senegal as the AFCON 2025 champions are parading with the Continental Trophy across Dakar and its environs. The momentum remains high for the Teranga Lions, who were warmly received on arrival at Dakar's International Airport early Tuesday morning by President Diomaye Faye. The head of state was accompanied by Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, cabinet ministers and other senior government officials. Well, let's now join Sankuli Janku, who is on standby and following the victory parade here in Dakar. Hello, Sankuli.
Hello, good evening, Mo.
Indeed. Well, bring us up to speed with where you are and what is happening around you.
Well, I am just 100 meters away from the Palais de la Republic, that is the presidential palace of the Senegalese government. Right in front of me, there is a huge podium where we expect President Diomaye Faye to deliver a speech, perhaps as well as Captain Khalidou Koulibaly, after handing over the trophy to him. As he speaks, government dignitaries and other invited guests are gradually walking in to the tent to take their seats, while the area is, the streets are lined up, thousands of Senegalese are lined up, on the streets, towards the presidential palace, as they anxiously wait for their heroes, who I understand at the moment somewhere close to the plateau in the open bus parade heading to the presidential palace as we wait for them.
Well, how is that area prepared to receive the thousands of people perhaps that will be accompanying that caravan to the presidential palace?
This place, as you can hear from the background, the music on the background, we have Senegalese artists who are expected to have short performances. There's music played, you have fans playing the drums and dancing. It's a celebratory mood here. It's a joyous occasion. People are anxiously waiting for their start. They are celebrating with pride that indeed, after all odds, once again, the Senegalese players have lifted the trophy. And it's a historic moment because this is the second time Senegal will have that star on the badge. But in addition to that, it's a moment of pride for every Senegalese here. In fact, some people have been out as early as 11 a.m. in Moedet, and it's after 6 now, and they are still waiting. They have the energy to wait for hours and hours just to have a glimpse of their heroes.
Indeed.
Right here at the presidential palace.
Well, thankfully, before I let go of you, you have spoken to some of the citizens around you there. What are some of those interesting things that you've heard them say?
Oh yes, of course. The word that the overall word is happiness. Every person that I've spoken to, because I've spoken to quite a number of them, they express delight, and they express delight as well as pride that it's good. It's a day that every Senegalese is proud of, and the message they have for the players is thank you. Thank you for bringing joy to us as Senegalese.
Indeed.
Thank you for uniting the country as one people. Those are some of the words that you hear from Senegalese that I've spoken to. They are just so happy that their heroes have done them proud as a people.
Well, Sankuli, my final question to you, is the president out? Have you cited the president or the prime minister or any other government officials around?
Well, at the moment, I have not cited the president yet, but I'm pretty sure he's somewhere behind or somewhere inside that beautiful palace. They are probably in the next hour or so, we'll have a glimpse of him, as well as possibly with his Prime Minister, as they prepare to welcome the Teranga Lions and the 2025 AFCON champions.
Indeed, Sankli, we will get back to you if you cite the president much later in the news. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Sankli Janko there at the presidential palace awaiting the arrival of the caravan of the AFCON champions, the Teranga Lions. Well, elsewhere in Ghana, a pressure group, Arise Ghana, picketed the United States Embassy in Accra, demanding that former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta be returned to Ghana to face investigation of alleged financial mismanagement. The group, clad in red and black attire, converged on the embassy premises this morning with placards bearing inscriptions such as "Bring Ken Home" and "No Hiding Place for Corruption." According to the convener of Arise Ghana, Salom Dramani Dramado, the group will protest for 2 weeks continuously until the former finance minister is extradited to Ghana.
We have actually taken the decision to hold this exercise for 2 weeks. If Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta doesn't show up or doesn't come back to this country, we'll do another 2 weeks. If our leaders, if our duty bearers do not account to us, if we don't hold them answerable to the decisions that they take while in office, then our democracy it will jeopardize our democracy, literally. Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is indeed of high interest here in Ghana. Because, mind you, this gentleman served this country as Minister for Finance and Economic Planning for 8 years. When it was even clear at some stages of his tenure that the gentleman was becoming obscenely greedy and he had overweening selfishness within his DNA. Right from that time, we started calling on the Akufo-Addo government to relieve the gentleman of his position. But, true to his style, Akufo-Addo, he never heeded our call.
As an activist, I'm open to taking civic action, and this is one of the ways to demand accountability. So my being here is to ensure that justice is served. Ghanaians have been crying out for quite a long time. They want justice.
We need Ken Ofori-Atta back to answer some questions. So this picketing is very strategic because for now it's around 6 in America. So I know they've gotten the message already. Before they get to court by 9 a.m. or so, they will know that no, Ghanaians are calling for him.
You heard the convener of Arise Ghana, Salom Dramani Dramado, speaking along of the protesters during the demonstration at the United States Embassy in Accra. From Ghana to Nigeria, where rice traders in a farming community within Benue State North Central are lamenting what they describe as crippling low patronage caused largely by poor road infrastructure. They say bad roads have made transportation difficult, increased the cost of moving rice to markets, and discouraged buyers from coming into the community. WDL's Abuja correspondent Yechen Nusasechi reports.
For years, Wadr community in Benue State has been known for rice production. However, today, the mood among traders is far from being hopeful. Stacks of rice sit unsold, not because there are no buyers in the state, but reaching this community has become a struggle. The road leading here is riddled with potholes, some sections nearly impassable, especially during the rainy season. Kate Iwusu, a rice mill operator, says the situation has drastically reduced their income.
We will only be paying tax, local revenues, but nobody is coming to buy rice. The worst part of it, last year, the government said we should use the government bags. After buying the rice at costly price, they will now go and bring rice from another state.
Another operator, Iwe Segber, explains that even when they manage to transport rice out of the community, the cost eats deep into their profit, making the business barely sustainable.
Some persons will even say they don't even know something like that exists here, even though they said it has been in existence since 1980. But that is just it. Like you see, the place is quiet. We are just managing because it's not good to stay at home.
Beyond income loss, traders worry about the long-term impact on rice production in the area. They express fear that farmers may gradually abandon rice farming if access roads remain neglected. The Wadr Rice Mill Security Manager, Jibril Abdullahi, appeals directly to government for urgent intervention.
Their major problem is that they are appealing to the government to come and work the road. Then they say if there's any festivity, they should please recognize them.
The traders are hopeful that their voices will be heard and that timely action will bring relief to farmers and traders alike. For the WADR, Hchinisa Situ reporting.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Crossing over to the Sahel, precisely in Burkina Faso, where former junta leader has reportedly been returned to the country. Colonel Paul Henry Sandago Damiba, until his arrest and expulsion by the Togolese authorities, was seeking refuge in the country following his overthrow by the current transitional president of Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Christopher Tisha reports.
According to sources, Burkina Faso's former transitional president Paul Henry Sandago Damiba was arrested in neighboring Togo and expelled. Damiba was reportedly detained last week in Lomé and questioned over alleged attempt to destabilize Burkina Faso. He was afterwards taken to the airport. A regional security source and a Togolese source confirmed that Damiba was put on the plane back to Ouagadougou. As of late Monday, authorities in Burkina Faso had not issued an official statement. Damiba, a former lieutenant colonel, seized power in a January 2022 coup that overthrew President Roch Marc Christian Kabore. He was ousted 8 months later by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Since then, Burkina Faso's military rulers have accused him of plotting several coups and assassination attempts against Traoré. The most recent plot was reported on January 3 when the military alleged that he coordinated a scheme of targeted killings of civilians and military officials.
Christopher Ticho found the report. Still in Burkina Faso, the alleged murderer of former Minister Yolande Viviane Compaoré is now in the custody of the justice system. According to the Burkina Faso prosecutor attached to the Ouagadougou High Court, the suspect is a 26-year-old man who was arrested on January 13. Investigators say he allegedly made away with 50,000 CFA francs belonging to the victim, along with mobile phones and a tablet, and is believed to have acted out of personal revenge. Recall the body of the former minister was discovered at her home in Ouagadougou on January 10. The prosecutor added that investigations are ongoing to identify and arrest any possible accomplices. Well, staying in the Sahel, the appeal trial of former Malian Prime Minister opened on Monday before the Bamako Court of Appeal. During the hearing, defense lawyers called for the outright annulment of the ruling issued by the Cybercrime Court. The court had sentenced Moussa Mara a few months ago to 2 years in prison, including a 1-year suspended sentence. He is being prosecuted, among other charges, for undermining the credit of the state and opposing legitimate authority. Francis Boniface reports.
After several hours of hearings before the Court of Appeal, defense lawyers challenged the ruling delivered by the Court of Appeal in charge of combating cybercrime. They argued that the first instance decision was not based on sufficiently established evidence. The defense therefore asked the Court of Appeal to overturn the judgment and to grant Moussa Mara a full and unconditional acquittal. Counsel for the former Prime Minister maintains that the charges against their client lack both legal and factual grounds. They contend that the alleged acts do not constitute offences under the law and denounce what they describe as an excessive interpretation of the applicable legal text. Muntanga Tal, lead counsel for the former head of government, said he hopes that justice will finally be done. For its part, the Office of the Prosecutor General upheld the first instance ruling, arguing that the Cybercrime Court properly assessed the facts and correctly applied the law. By way of reminder, Moussa Mara was sentenced last October to 2 years in prison, including 1 year to be served. He is being prosecuted for undermining the credit of the state, disturbing public order, spreading false news, and opposing legitimate authority. In a social media post published last July, Moussa Mara said he was prepared to fight by all means, quote, so that the sun may follow the night, end of quote, after visiting several detainees he described as prisoners of conscience. At the close of the proceedings, the Court of Appeal adjourned the case for deliberation until February 9.
A report by WDL's Bamako correspondent Aliu Cham and voiced by Francis Boniface. And to electoral matters, the Constitutional Court in Benin has confirmed the final results of the legislative and municipal elections as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, SINA. The legislative polls were overwhelmingly won by parties aligned with the ruling majority. As a result, Benin will have a parliament without an opposition for the next 7 years. This outcome has sparked widespread reactions among residents in Cotonou. Let's now join Gosin Koli for the rest of the story.
In Cotonou, residents closely followed the announcement of the legislative election results. As the two parties forming the ruling majority secured 109 seats in the National Assembly, one citizen expressed regret that the parliament will once again be dominated by a single political bloc, as was the case in 2019.
A one-party parliament means lawmakers acting under orders. How can a lawmaker effectively oversee a government he belongs to? The National Assembly risks becoming nothing more than an echo chamber.
Another resident, however, believes that a one-party dominated assembly will make it easier to further advance the government's action launched in 2016.
That's not a good thing because it's a country. There must be a balance. Whether they are close allies or not, wrongdoing should be called out. If something goes wrong, who will hold them accountable?
Despite differing opinions, Beninian citizens are unanimous in their high expectations of the new lawmakers, particularly on social issues.
My hope is that this assembly will carry out its duties as it should, defending the interests of the people and properly overseeing the actions of government officials.
After the Constitutional Court proclaims the final results, candidates have 10 days to file appeals to contest the outcome. As in 2019, Benin will have a National Assembly made up solely of the ruling majority, leaving little room for opposing views or contradictory debate. The newly elected members of Parliament are set to take office on February 8, 2026.
Augustine Coley filed that report. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM in Dakar and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye gives a grand welcome to the national team at Dakar Airport. Pressure group demands return of Ghana's former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta amidst call to face financial charges. Rice traders in Nigeria's Benue State complain of low patronage due to poor road infrastructure. Authorities in Burkina Faso arrest a suspect in murder of former Minister Kampauri. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview. Sports news coming up.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Oh, don't forget we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. In Liberia, the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day stand has announced the commencement of sustained civil disobedience. The citizen movement based its decision on the rising cases of rights violations, selective justice, police brutality, and the normalization of impunity under the current administration. At a press conference on Monday, Stan cited the case of a former minister declared innocent by the Liberian National Police based on DNA as an example of selective justice. J. Brian McGill was initially accused of rape. The WDL's Monrovia correspondent Ibrahim Parker reports.
Stein, during Monday's conference, accused the government of abuse of power and condemned the violent repression of peaceful protesters, including the use of tear gas, arbitrary arrest, and fabricated charges. Stein argued that these actions violate constitutional rights and international conventions on civil and political rights. Moba Malou, Stein's chairman, also described the deployment of some surveillance to disrupt civil society activities as concerning.
An economic war that entrenches poverty and hunger, a healthcare crisis marked by neglect and medical tourism for elites, a security war characterized by police brutality, a justice crisis where rape survivors are silenced and perpetrators are protected. This reality is incompatible with democratic governance.
The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day labeled the current situation in Liberia as a non-conventional war waged by the state against its own people.
In accordance with democratic principles and nonviolent resistance traditions recognized under international law, stand hereby declares the commencement of sustained civil disobedience until the legitimate demands are meaningfully addressed.
Stand has vowed to continue its civil disobedience campaign until the demands raised, though in previous protests, which include corruption, abuse of power, police brutality, among others, are addressed. The movement appealed to the international community, diplomatic missions, and to human rights bodies to take note of Liberia's strengthened civil space and what it sees as an escalating repression faced by activists in the country. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
In this segment of the news, our guest examines the impact of a one-party parliament on parliamentary democracy, particularly on the oversight of government action. For the second time in 6 years, Benin finds itself with a National Assembly made up exclusively of lawmakers from the two political parties that form the ruling majority. Over the next 7 years, there is expected to be little or no adversarial debate on Parliament, with legislators largely aligning themselves with executive's governance agenda. To shed light on these issues is Patrick Kunu, a lecturer and researcher at the University of Abomey, Calavi, and an expert in democratic governance.
Mais vous savez que au niveau donc de l'Assemblée nationale,
you know that at the level of the National Assembly, the mission of elected parliamentarians is well known, namely to pass laws and oversee government action. It goes without saying that when you have a one-party parliament, oversight of government action and the passing of laws may not function in the same way as in a parliament where both the ruling majority and the opposition are represented. It should be added that a one-party parliament will in reality naturally serve as a sounding board for the executive branch. However, this does not prevent debate from taking place. It is true that when these debates are raised and held, they are not necessarily of a nature that would sanction the government, and so there will naturally be collaboration, a form of collaboration that allows the executive to implement its action program without difficulty, that is, without any obstruction.
Sans difficulté, donc sans coup férir.
Can we speak of a situation that would undermine parliamentary democracy in Benin?
C'est relatif. Parce que justement,
the idea is that we must arrive at implementing a form of democracy that enables African countries to solve their problems without necessarily remaining tied to the models or cliches of European countries. The view is that European countries have already resolved a certain number of problems and can therefore afford to practice democracy as they do, whereas others still need to meet development challenges. So should we fear for democracy? To a certain extent, if you are talking about a democracy that involves accompanying the executive in the implementation of public policy, then on that front there is no problem. But in terms of democratic, live, contradictory debates and challenging a number of models proposed by the executive, it is obvious that within a one-party parliament there will not really be challenges commensurate with what we might see if the parliament were more diversely represented.
The main opposition party, the Democrats, obtained 16% of the vote in the legislative elections. But the new electoral code stipulates that a party must obtain 20% of the vote in each constituency to enter parliament. This was not the case for the Democrats, who were unable to reach that score in all constituencies. As a result, the party will not be able to sit in parliament. Should the new electoral code be reviewed to avoid once again ending up with a National Assembly dominated by a single political camp?
I don't think so, because the objective is to achieve a very large representation. It's also about forcing certain parties to work together with others, and you will understand even the parties that are represented, the parties within the ruling coalition that have practically won all the seats in the chamber. These parties have signed agreements in the meantime. So when you sign agreements, you optimize your chances. You position yourself to have the possibility of winning seats. And that's what the Democrats haven't been able to do.
Et c'est ce que les démocrates n'ont pas pu faire.
That was Patrick Kubun, lecturer and researcher at the University of Abomey, Calavi. And in sport news, we head back to the plateau where Sankule Janku is on standby. Hello, Sankule, once again.
Yes, Imo, good evening.
Yes, indeed. Well, the news in sport, dominating sport news this evening, seems to be Sadio Mane's announcement of his last AFCON and planned retirement. Have there been comments around you about this?
Yes, of course. There are so many comments. I mean, Senegalese generally are very sad that Sadio Mane has retired. I mean, this will be his last AFCON. I'm here with a gentleman. Let me ask him how he feels about the fact that Sadio Mane has retired. First of all, how are you, brother? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And
what's your name?
Mahmoud Gay.
Mahmoud Gay, how do you feel that Sadio Mane, this is his last AFCON? How does that make you feel as a Senegalese?
I'm happy for him. For me, I know this guy Sadio Mane 10 years ago, and I know how he loves playing AFCON. And he's the first leader give us the AFCON in 2021. And this year, he helped us to winning second AFCON. And he retired in a grand way.
So, but are you sad that he's leaving? Are you sad that you will not see him ever again playing for Senegal in an AFCON tournament? Does that make you sad?
Yes, I'm very sad because since 10 years we see Sadio Mane in Senegal national team playing good football, scoring goals, leading the team. It's sad to see him go.
Indeed, it's still hard from Mahmoud there. Most Senegalese that I have spoken to, in fact, all the Senegalese I have spoken to have the same sentiment, that they are so sad that this will be the last time they will see Sadio Mane, their hero, representing Senegal in an AFCON tournament. And there are so many speculations as well that the World Cup will be his last time appearing for the Senegalese national team. So it's a happy day today for most Senegalese, but it's like they are sad at the same time that they will never get to see Sadio Mane don that Senegalese, that green, red, and yellow jersey, playing for them, giving them the joy that he's been used to.
And it's Sankule, we have to go. Thank you so much for your time. And it seems going to be a party all through the night with the caravan likely to arrive late. But thank you so much, Sankule, for your time. And stay safe.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
Right, thank you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. And many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maudoju for the technical assistance. And let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook at WADR English. Coming up next at the bottom of the hour is Info Check. I am Imo Edet. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gaf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www